Welcome to case study number 4. In this video, we're going to model a lipstick. Well, let's get started. I'm just going to drag a reference image in here and let's go to position this, Shift S to get a cursor, selection to cursor. We're just going to select the G and Z, G, Z and move it. And if you're holding Shift, you can actually moving this thing with a small increment. Holding Shift and I think roughly around here. A lot of times if you have a couple of different reference image, and the easiest one will be just simply duplicate the one that you already positioned, Shift D, do that, and then go to the top view and hit R to rotate it. As you can see, when you're rotating, holding the control key, and we are rotating in 15 degrees increment. So when you see the top left corner, set the rotation to 90 degrees, we can just stop right there. So this is basically the perfect angle for what you're doing. But sometimes you won't have a really accurate reference image if you just try to download it or find it somewhere. It's just going to be a little bit easier just for the sake of setting up the positions of the image. So what we will do here, we're gonna go to the side view, which is the right view, and select the one on there, and then we're going to reload the image we have, so which is the second image that we're going to use. Okay, so we're going to exit out and hit open. We're just going to use the side view reference image, click that and load it in. Okay, so now we have that. It seems like it's not really perfectly positioned, but we can do some minor adjustment. The best way to do this is we are going to model based on one side, and then when we're building the model, then we're just going to adjusting the other side accordingly to making sure getting as close as it can be. So far we can just leave this in here. We can definitely dial down the opacity a little bit for this guy, and for the front view, same thing. We can dial the opacity a little bit, and the best way which can just actually rename that. You can just select empty, and then we're gonna go F2 to rename as side view. Okay, so this one, F2, we're gonna do front view. You certainly can rename this file by double clicking. Okay, just like this, so you can do that. All right, so anyway, so we are good so far. Basically, looking at this reference image, as you can see here, the bottom part is kind of like built based on cube. It's pretty easy, and then this one is the top one is a cylinder. So for the top part, we have a face that kind of like tilted a little bit. So we should be able to creating this face with our shear tool. And to start with, we are going to have a Shift A to adding a cube real quick. And then we're just gonna hit S to scale down to kind of getting this manually properly sized. As you can see here, the reference image is not in the center, so we can do here, select the front view, hit GX and just do that. When we're adding the cube from the 3D cursor, it's actually going to be perfectly centered. So we just need adjusting the reference image accordingly, and then we do that. Okay, pretty straightforward, but all these details is gonna help you. So we're gonna move this up here, and if you really want to see what's behind, and you can hit Alt Z to see, and then we're gonna go to the edit mode, hit tab, and then you can select the vertex on the top. Okay, so what we do, we're gonna hit G Z to grab it. And now, since we already model a part of body already on this front view, this will be a good time to really adjusting the side view to getting everything matched. So what we will do here, we're gonna tab it out, we're gonna enable the side view and also go to the right side. Okay, as you can see here, the reference image is right here, as it's a little bit off. So what we'll do here, I'm gonna hit G to grab it along the Y axis. And certainly we need to scale down the reference image a little bit. So right now it's kind of like interesting. We are matching the reference with the model because we already have a model perfectly built according to one side of view. So we're just gonna matching the other 1. Okay, so go to Alt Z to X-ray mode. I'm gonna see the reference image better, and hit GY to kind of getting this thing match. All right, and let's see, and hit the Z, and hitting the GZ, and it's just trying to line up. I think it looks perfect. Well, I think it looks pretty good, and hit S to scale up a little bit, and let's see, GZ. Well, I still remember when I started at beginning, when I was trying to model something, I was super serious about the reference image. And unfortunately, a lot of times the reference image is just going to be a reference. There are a lot of times that it's not going to match the exactly angle or perspective as the one when you trying to model a product. So you need to really do your judgment accordingly. Okay. So far, based on what we're looking, it looks pretty good and pretty line up perfectly. So what we will do next, we are going to continue building the upper body part. Okay, so here we are going to select the top face and hit I or S, whatever you want to do. So we're just gonna go to insert the face. And now when you see when you see this angle, it's kind of hard to know how big or small it is. So we still want to go to the front view, and we're just can see this under the X-ray mode. So I think the vertices is supposed to end over here. So we make it a little bit too big. So we're gonna hit the Control Z to undo it, and what we'll do is select top face and go to the front view and hit the I, and again go here. You see the vertex is lined up with this, and then we should stop. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna hit E and hit Z to kind of pull the thing up. Next thing we're going to do is to model this cylinder type of structure. It's more like the lipstick container. So next thing we're going to do, same thing. We're gonna select the top vertex and go to the front view and hit the I key, and then we're gonna come in here. Okay, so this is good so far. And if we're gonna continue pull this thing up and like hit EZ, it's going to be a cube, right? So the next thing we need to do, we need to turn this square into a circle. And before doing that, I'm just going to turn off all these reference image by holding a left key and just drag, so you can quickly close all these. Small tip. And if we're doing this, we're trying to make it as a circle. We have an add-on already enabled. It's called loop tool. So if I do right click, you'll see a loop tool. There's an additional window pop out. You just do a circle, which means you're supposed to changing the vertex into a circle. But unfortunately we did this, but nothing changed. It's simply because the geometry is not enough to turn into a circle. So the minimum vertices, based on my experience, usually has to be at least 5 vertices in order to turn into a circle. So what I will do now, I'm just gonna adding some loop cuts on the side to building some enough vertices for the top face. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the Control R and just adding a loop cut, and Control R adding a loop cut. Now you see in the center there is a vertex built in, so we don't need that. So we can do X, and then we're just gonna do dissolve the vertex, and not to delete. Okay, so dissolve that. We're just gonna have a flat surface over here now. So what we'll do next, we're gonna select all these top vertices in here, box select, and if I go to the right click again in here and I enable that loop tool, go to circle, you will see what's happening. Now it's turning to a circle. So we can continue to model that. Well, let's go to the front view and enable the front view reference image. So what we can do here, we can see this is right here. So we're probably gonna scale down a little bit, S, and just gonna come in a little bit. Next, we're gonna hit E to extrude, continue go up, and Z. So we can just keep moving this even easier. So we can do this right here. As you can see here, this part of the top areas actually tilted, so we will go to the side view to kind of do the shear tool. Okay, and let's turn on the side view reference. So what we can do here, we're just gonna select the top vertices and we go to the shear tool right here. So what we can do here, we can just, and we're just gonna go drag the thing up a little bit. And then what we can do here, we're gonna go to the move tool and just move this whole thing down. And we can even do that a minor adjustment to line up a little bit better according to the reference. Again, these are just small minor details, but it will actually come out quite good when you're doing precise modeling. As you can see here, if I go to the solid mode, I can just turn off these. You can see the body is already tilted and perfectly, and we're gonna continue to insert the face and then going down to actually getting the reference image done. Okay, so hit the I key and come in a little bit, because the thickness, we don't have a reference for the accurate thickness. I would go for this and then go to the front view, Alt Z to go to X-ray mode, hit E and hit Z, just going down a little bit, just adding a loop cut, and EZ going down. I don't know how far this thing goes, but it's just gonna go eyeballing, and EZ, you can go with this. If you really want to get everything precisely flat, what you can do here, go to the side view, hit S, Z, and 0, and it's gonna flatten things out. Same thing we're going to do, we're gonna hit Alt, click, and do that S, Z, 0. So we're gonna flat everything out down here, so it should be nice and neat in here. If you look through here, it's kind of flat inside. Okay, cool. So now we're pretty much done for the outer body. So the next thing we're going to do, we're gonna apply the subsurface modifier to making everything looks nice and smooth. And let's go that. Let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, and we're gonna do Control 2. Okay, so it just ruined everything. Well, not yet. We can fix that, certainly. So for this, what's happening is subsurface modifier is gonna even out for any angles, like these angles is gonna even out. So it's gonna make it very smooth, adding more invisible vertices and trying to getting everything like nicely transitioned. So this is not what we want. So we are going to adding some loop cut in order to get everything looks back to normal again. Well, before we go into there, what I would do here, I just gonna temporarily disable that and from the viewport. So what I would do, I'm adding a bevel modifier because all these edges are too sharp. So what I would do here, go to the bevel, and I'm gonna move this thing up because I want to bevel first, and then I wanted the subsurface modifiers kind of working in the other way. As you can see here, it's actually beveled everything for this model, which is this part is supposed to be a perfect round cylinder shape. Now it's become a kind of hard surface stuff. So this is not what I want. So what I need to change is this. I need to changing the limit method from angle to weight. How to do this is basically you select the edges that you want to bevel. So you can hit number 2. You can do that. You can hit the you can hit number 2 to select the edge, and you are going to hold Alt, click, and then you're gonna have a loop selected. And you can see here on the left hand side that the transform tab, you can go here on the N key, and you can see there is a mean bevel weight. So I can just gonna simply click and drag, make it 1, and then you see now this edge is being beveled according to this modifier. So yeah, with this modifier, you still can have a precise control of your bevel. So it's kind of a nice tool that I often use, that just having still have a full control and also is non-destructive. Okay, so I will kind of dial down the amount of bevel and also increase the segment of the bevel. I think 3 is going to be pretty beautiful. I just gonna make it a little smaller. So I think to 5, it's just a little bit minor adjustment. as you can see here, these are the 0.005. It's a very small saddle bevel. It's just gonna adding a little bit more realistic feeling because the edge is gonna a little bit softer. Okay, so what I will do next, I just gonna continue to select the edges that I want to bevel. Okay, I'm gonna hold Alt and click and just drag the whole weight to 1. So hit the B and I'm gonna hold X-ray mode and I'm gonna select box select, and I don't need all these vertices in the center, so I'm gonna do B and the middle mouse button to unselect, box unselect. So I'm gonna have this perfectly edge selected. Grab that weight to 1. Continue. I'm gonna have some edges like these. This one. This one. This one. Go to the bevel, go to the mean bevel weight, put in 1. I think so far it should be good. Let's come out in this. So if I'm enable the subsurface modifier now, you see what's happening. So it's much better to maintain the edges over here. And certainly I need to have all these beveled. And drag to 1. So now, as you can see here, we have pretty good sharp edges body in here. Okay, so and certainly next we're going to adding some support loops to getting these sharp edges back. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the bottom part. Control R, do that, and we can go to the vertice mode. Hit the Control B to bevel that. Just basically just adding a 2 loop cut evenly on each side. You can see we're retaining back the vertices in here. Control R another one, and Control B to bevel that. So see, we have kind of like beautiful sharp edges going on here. And next thing we are going to do, we're going to adding some loop cut to getting the cylinder back. Control R, go to edit mode, Control R, do that, and Control B to bevel. Well, certainly you can see here, these in this way it doesn't work because there was one with a kind of a slight angle. So if we adding a loop cut, we actually going to having a certain angle. So what I will do here, I'm just going to having adding a loop cut first, like undo everything, and then Control R to adding a loop cut. I'm just gonna hit double G to slide up. Okay. And another Control R loop cut, and for this way, now I really don't want to have this kind of like a tilted angle when I'm adding a loop cut. I know when I come to the down there is actually adjusting it, but I can do that right now. I can hold in the E. So basically the E is the edge direction, so I'm just kind of pulling down here, and you can see here on the in the middle there was a red spot right there. It was is indicating our loop cut is parallel with that direction. Okay, so I'm going to do that. See here, should be good. And then we definitely need one more loop cut to support the other way. Let's do that. So okay, cool. So after adding all these loop cuts, it looks much better. And then what we can do here, we can see we probably need another loop cut in the center because the edge is getting even out. So what we do here, we're just gonna adding another loop cut, Control R in here between these two edges. Okay, so watch what's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna flatten things out. If you really want to have more better precisely, Control B to bevel that. You can have a little bit like sharper edges right here. Okay, so tap it out. Yes, we're good. And next thing we're going to do, we're going to do right click, shade smooth. Okay, so much better after you see this shade smooth. It's a great feeling. Okay, so you see we still have kind of like a wiggling, is because the subsurface modifier is not that much, so we can actually bump it up a little bit. This is still a low poly model, so it should be fine just adding that. Okay, so it's pretty nice. Okay, the shading inside looks a little bit off, so what I would do, just I'm gonna disable the subsurf and then just select the very end loop and hit I to insert it. You don't have to do this because no one is gonna see that anyway. I just trying to getting things done a little bit better, also much better shading. So this is all good right now. So as you can see here, it's pretty beautiful. You may already notice as well, I can see here the reference image and the actual model have to shrink the size a little bit. Well, the main reason is because the subsurf modifier is gonna smooth everything out. Sometimes it will shrink the volume a little bit. So what we'll do next, we're gonna adjusting the size and accordingly. So let's go to top view and go to the edit mode and Alt Z to go to extrude mode and select all these vertices, and making sure you don't select the additional one. So you see the bottom part, we have extra vertices selected. I'm gonna hit the B and the middle mouth button to drag a box and deselect that. So now we are going to scale up with the volume, but if I simply do S to scale up, as you can see here, the bottom part is being scaled, which means when you do scaling, is going to scale on all directions, X, Y, and the Z axis. We don't want to do any scale on the Z axis, so we will do here Control Z to undo it, and then still have this part selected. We can do S and Shift Z, which means everything else except the Z axis is going to scale. It means the X and the Y axis is going to scale. So now if we're dragging, we're only scaling on the X and the Y axes. Okay, so if we can go to scale a little bit bigger and then go to the extrude mode. See here, I think it's kind of matched perfectly. Okay, so we can tap it out, so it's just kind of retain some volume back to the model. Okay, so next thing we are going to do, we are going to model the actual lipstick. Okay, we don't need to adding a cylinder to rebuild the thing again. We're just going to borrow the geometries that we have. Okay, so here, go to the tab edit mode. We are going to go with the inside one because you know the lipstick is gonna fit inside. We're just gonna select the inside loop, and here we're gonna hit Shift D to duplicate it. As you can see here, I got a ring over here, and if I right click, and this is gonna come back to where it was. Okay, and now although you saw there are two separate items, but they're still within that one cube. So what we'll do here, we're gonna hit the P, and to have a separate menu pop out, we're gonna do selection and watch what's gonna happen. Okay, hit P again. All right, so we have another cube come out. So next we're gonna tap out the edit mode. We're gonna select the loops that we duplicated, so now it's a separate object now. Okay, so next we are going to hit S, Z, and 0, so flat everything out, and hit E to extrude. Okay, extruding down. I think this is pretty far already, so we should be good. And then now you can see here, this is just a cylinder. We need to making sure we have this proper close, right? This is not a tube, it's actually a cylinder. So what we can do here, we're gonna go to the edit mode, and we just going to Alt Z, extrude mode, select all the vertices, and hit the F key to kind of fill it. Okay, so as you can see here, now it's quickly become something different, because what's happening here is because we duplicated the geometry from an existing model, all the modifiers is going to come with it. So we don't need the bevel for this lipstick body, so we just can actually delete these and select all and hit S key to scale down a little bit, because otherwise this is going to be perfectly lined up and overlapped on each other, so we don't want to do that. Okay, so tap it out, and I'm gonna hit the G, Z to grab it, move it up. And then the next thing we're going to do, because the top part is flat, so we're going to insert a face, okay? Or just select the top part, hit the I key, and you can see here, go to top view, and another I to kind of getting things down here, okay? So go to edit mode, it looks cool, but you can see here on the side, it looks a little bit flat. On the side, you can see that doesn't look very nice. I'm gonna just adding a loop cut on here. Control R, getting a loop cut. A little bit better round it. So we're gonna slide double G to slide it up, and do this. It should be fine by now. And the bottom part, as you can see here, is remain as a big open hole. That is totally fine for just for visual rendering. Then I'm gonna turn on the side view, and I'm gonna defining the angle of that lipstick. So let's go here and select the top of these, and you know we are going to go to the shear tool, and then we're just gonna grab this. Because the side view is still looks a little bit different because this is not perfectly a side view, so we're just gonna having a approximately tilting angle, so it's not gonna tilt that much, so I think it was around there should be fine. And I go to the move tool, and then we're just gonna move down here a little bit. Okay, so for this we're gonna close everything out, type edit mode out, Alt Z to solid mode, and right click shade smooth. So now we have the lipstick model perfectly done. So for sometimes when you're modeling, for this part, you can actually hit R and Z to kind of rotate it with certain angles, and just showing some face on here. It is going to look much better when you're doing the product render. You definitely do that. The reason we want to stay with that angle, that's much easier for modeling. Also, the next part is basically we can model a cap for this, and I don't have a reference image for this. What we can do here, we still can borrow the bottom part of the body and kind of duplicate it on the top. So what I would do here and Shift D to do that, and then I can hit R and rotate it, and holding Control and until 180 degrees, and hit the G and Z to grab it. And now here I'm gonna go to the tab edit mode, and if I hit the slash key on the number pad, I'm gonna go to the local view. So I'm gonna do that because I just only want to work with this one part. Hold Alt Z to go to extrude mode. I'm gonna select all the bottom part, and then what I will do next is I'm gonna go use the trick to Control and plus key to select more vertices. And then I think I'm just going to do a couple more, Control plus, and now I can just simply hit the X to delete it this time, to fully delete the vertice, and it should be fine. And now we're left in with a open one. I'm gonna select the last inner loop, and by holding Alt click and hit F to fill, and then we have a whole face. Next, we're gonna exit out the local view, hitting the backslash key on the number pad, and we are just going to go to the top view and hit the I insert, and just roughly finding a kind of like a thickness of the cap. I think should be fine by then. I'm gonna hit the E, Z, come out on Z axis, and then in the E, Z axis one more time. I know probably this is like too short, so what I will do, since I'm still in the extrude mode, I'm gonna select all these on the top vertices. I'm just gonna drag it up, hit the G, a Z a little bit. Okay, I think probably the full design is like that, and I'm just gonna select the inner ones as well, and just hit the grab tool, hit the G and Z to kind of grab it up. And this one, I feel like I can push in a little bit more, double G to just slide upward. Okay, For the bottom part, because we don't have a support loops, and also having the subsurface modifiers added on, so it looks a little bit soft. So if you go to the local view again, you can see this is kind of a little bit soft. So why a thinner edge? So what I'll do, hit Control R to adding a loop cut and drag it down here, and it should be fine by now. And also you'll notice that we are having the issue with this kind of like a huge round shape. You don't have to do anything to adjust these because it's not going to be visible anyway, unless you're really going to render something out to showing inside of this. In case you really want to fix this, what we can do here, we can just select the entire loop in here, inner loop, and we can actually adding a bevel with that. I hit N key to having this out, and we're gonna drag this bevel weight to 1. Okay. And also, as you can see here, there's a kind of like a round shape in here, just because the subsurface modifiers this is kind of big angle, and we don't have a lot of vertices to support this angle, so it's kind of give you a huge round over here. So if you really want to getting that precisely really nice, what you can do, you can just adding some quick support loop. Control R to adding that and slide in, and Control R another one, slide over in here. And the same thing over here, Control R, do that. Control R to do this. Control R to do this. Okay. It's not a big deal, but it actually definitely is gonna look better and a little bit solid in here, both inside out. But it's just like a personal reference. It's just a personal thing, but sometimes the details always win. Okay, so, and we can even adding another loop cut in here, supporting loops in here, otherwise you can round it a little much. Control R, just in there here, we can do here. So I think this should be fine, and for the modeling, for the render, I think should be fine just for the rendering purpose. Let's go out here and hit the slash key, come out the local view. As you can see here, this, I think this is believe that this is called the Z straps. It's just simply because we're some overlapping on the geometries on here. So what we'll do here next, we're just gonna hit the G and Z to grab it, kind of separate the whole thing out a little bit, because in the reality, it's not gonna be perfectly sealed like manufacturing metal. Okay, so we're just gonna have some room left open, okay, in here. So this is pretty much the done product we are actually modeling today. So the next thing we'll do is holding the F tool and to rename that cap. We can do that. Let's do double click, lipstick, body. For this one, lipstick. Okay. Next, well, since we're done for all these, we can select this, holding Control key, and select all these, and then hit M to adding a new collections. We can just adding a new collections, more like a folder in the Blender. So we can just do lipstick group. Okay, and hit OK. Now everything else is in here, and we're inside of one single group. Okay, so this is nice. And remember, this time we have 3 different parts of body, and we are doing any propping and any rotations or positioning it, and it's only moving parts by parts. So next thing we'll do is we are going to adding a empty to kind of a cage to including everything out. Shift A, adding a cage or empty, or you can select this folder first, or you can select this collection first. Shift A to adding empty, do a cube, okay? And then grab it up and scale on the z-axis, GZ, okay, and SX axis, and go to side view, SY. Now we have like kind of a cage including everything else in there. So what we'll do next, we can just rename that lipstick empty. Okay, so next what we'll do here, we're gonna select all these holding the shift one by one, and now next we are going to select the empty first and holding shift, and then select these rest of these. As you can see here, the very first one looks a little bit we're gonna select the empty and then shift click all these and then Control P, and then we have a set of a parent, so we're gonna hit object. Now everything else is under the empty. So if I'm going to do any kind of rotations, renders on if I do any positions or scaling on the empty, everything else is gonna go with it. Okay, so we're gonna rotate it, whatever, double R to rotate it. So everything is gonna be like this. So this is done for our lipstick model. Okay. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the and what you can do very easily, you just, if you want to do some multiple different colors and variations, you can just close this in collections. You can do that, duplicate collection, and then you have a second one, you can just quickly grab it out. Okay, and maybe you can do some variations, one's open, one's closed. That's all of your choice. And now we are done with this lipstick modeling case study. I will see you in the other. I will see you in the next one. Bye. I will see you in the next case study. Bye.